Hi, so welcome to the live stream today. Really excited for having you as we continue with our discussion for the ICA July 2023 examination. And today we're going to be focusing on the chief examiner's report so that we can really go behind the scene and find out what the challenges that the chief examiner has stated that students have and the solutions that have been suggested by the chief examiner so we can know exactly what we are expected to do. Also, take note that this is going to be a long series that we are going to be doing. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel because you will check that we have on the podcast session on YouTube, we have created a new podcast where we are going to be discussing some of these things. So today, I'm going to give you a general overview of the Chief Examiner's report, focusing on financial reporting and corporate reporting. But then in the course of the week and throughout till the exam, we're going to be taking questions after questions and then looking at the things that you're supposed to do and the things that the chief examiner suggested and how you can position yourself strategically to pass the examination. So I see some of you guys joining. You are welcome. Give us a thumbs up on the video when you join, and let me also hear from you in the comment section. Any questions you have for me, something you would want me to share my thought on, I really will want to hear from you to see exactly what we can do so we can position ourselves to pass the examination. Now, today's discussion, like I said, we are focusing on financial reporting and corporate reporting, referring to the chief examiner's report to find out what we can do. However, for some reason, we don't have the March 2023 Chief Examiner's Report yet available, published yet on the Institute of Chartered Accountants website. So I'm going to be relying on the December 2022 Chief Examiner's Report for Financial Reporting and Corporate Reporting to discuss the principles because that actually cut across generally at the end of the day. I don't know why the March 2023 is not yet available. I don't know because I mean sometimes if you ask some of these questions, why is the thing not available? Some people will sheepishly say, "Hey, Nhyira, what do you need a examination report for?" But these are some of the reasons why we are where we are as a country generally. But that is a story for another day. So I'm gonna just be focusing on the December 2022 examination or chief examiner's report, and then we are gonna get excited about it. I see some of you guys joining. You're welcome. Give us a thumbs up on the video when you join, and then also share the video. Let's reach as many students as possible watching the playback as well as joining the stream as well in that case. So financial reporting and corporate reporting. If you have follow up my work, I have really shared a lot in relation to what it takes to pass these two papers. But it is important we also go behind the scene, remove the veil so that we see what the chief examiner has stated and the thoughts of the chief examiner, because that helps us to actually understand the enormity of the problem and also take some cues on what we are supposed to do going forward. So I believe that this is a very crucial session today, and I know that we will be able to really make some values and make some improvement generally at the end of the day. So let me bring up my screen quickly and let's get excited about it for the day. So this is the chief examiner's report for the December 2022 ICA examination in that particular case, December 2022 financial reporting. If you are doing corporate reporting, stay tuned because the problem actually cut across. The issues that the examiner raised concern on in financial reporting are almost the same issues that are also in corporate reporting. So you want to stay tuned and make sure you listen carefully in that particular case. So we want to go into the performance of candidates because that is where I am excited about, and that is where we can really start our discussion on. And I want you to pay attention carefully because we are just discussing and going through what the chief examiner has suggested and what we can do to ultimately pass the examination. It says that on the average, the performance of candidates was below expectation. Performance of candidates on the average was below expectation. The pass rate was about 20%. This is December 2022. The average pass rate of the ICAG December 2022 financial reporting was 20%. 20%. 20%. Give me a sec. I don't know. I think my pencil is trying to mess me up. I don't know why My pencil is trying to mess me up today. But let's see. 20%. 20%. Give me a sec. Let's see if I can deal with my pencil a little bit. Okay, so let's see. Below expectation and then 20%. I don't know why when I circle the 20%, then there's an extension on my pencil. Okay, so the pass rate, 20%. Now, I want you to stay with me carefully here. 20%. 20% means that for every 10 students who sat for the examination, 10 who sat for the exams, 8 people failed the exam. They failed. They were not able to get 50% to pass the exam. Remember, pass mark is just 50%. 50. Oh, come on now. What's going on with my pencil? So 8 people failed and only 2 people passed the examination. Only 2 had the pass mark, 50%. Only 2. So when you take 10 people, 8 failed, only 2 passed. If you take 100 people, the same idea, 80 failed. Imagine that. You take 100 people, 80 failed. 80 failed, only 20 passed the exams. And that is very, very dire situation to be in. And this is not me saying it. This is the chief examiner's report in that particular case. December 2022 financial reporting. But the question we had to then say is, what is the issue? Listen carefully. The chief examiner said the poor performance may be as a result of short period for preparation and lack of appreciation of contents and application of the relevant IFRSs. So 3 things generally that the chief examiner has raised concern on: short preparation. Come on now, I don't know why my pencil is trying to screw me up today. Again, I don't know if I just updated my iPad. I don't know if that is part of it. It couldn't be. Apple don't do that. So preparation. Let's see if we will be good now. Sort of, we are good. So preparation is number 1 thing. Okay. Number 2 is lack of appreciation of the content, meaning that students really don't understand the scope of the syllabus. And then the third thing that the examiner raised concern on is application of the IFRSs. 3 things: preparation, appreciation of the content, IFRSs. So on the preparation side, that is very crucial. This semester, for instance, we have 12 weeks to go. We have 12 weeks. 12 weeks. We are currently in the 6th week. So we've done 6 weeks, half. And we have 6 more weeks to go. The question is, if you are sitting for financial reporting, and like I said, by extension, it's the same reasons for corporate reporting as well. So if you're sitting for financial reporting and you're sitting for corporate reporting, we are in the 6th week. The question is, how prepared are you? How far have you been studying? Are you working hard? Are you making sure that you're involving yourself and working hard to be able to pass the examination? No, because 99.9% of you are sitting down, doing nothing, because you are waiting 1 week to the exams. You go and take some miserable leave from your workplace. Just a week to the exam. You go and take miserable leave from your workplace, cost your company productivity hours. They pay you your salary, or some of you would take 2 weeks. Then throughout that 2 weeks, you try to crunch everything in the 2 weeks, but you don't even have an understanding of the content of the syllabus. But that's the first thing: preparation. Preparation. So these are the three general points that the chief examiner broadly raised concern on: preparation, lack of appreciation of the content, and then application of IFRSs. Beyond these three broad general things, the examiner went ahead to give us some advice that we need to follow in that particular case to increase our chances of passing the examination. The first one is this. So candidates are hereby advised to note the following for future guidance. Candidates are hereby advised to note the following for future guidance. 1. The content and application of the IFRSs constitute about 70% of the syllabus. Listen carefully. This is the chief examiner speaking. That the content and application of the IFRSs constitute about 70% of the syllabus. No joke. 70%. So candidates can only pass the financial reporting paper if they place premium on learning IFRSs. Candidates can only pass the financial reporting paper if they place premium on learning the IFRSs. That's the first thing. 70%. And this is true across all level, because you're going to be having a dedicated, IFRS that's in question 2. That's 20 marks coming up. You're going to have question 3, that is a single entity financial statement. And each single entity financial statement, the footnote there is actually an accounting standard. And so that is also another 20 marks coming in the exam. Then you have question 1, consolidated financial statement. All the footnote in consolidated financial statement is actually application of accounting standards, because in the consolidated financial statement, we're going to have the IFRS 10, consolidated financial statement, IFRS 3, business combination. You're going to have IAS 28, investment in associates, all right, and other issues coming in. So 20 marks IFRS dedicated, single entity, all the footnote is IFRS. Remember, even in consolidation, there are other IFRSs that you have to apply, especially when you're dealing with fair value adjustment, intragroup trading, and all of those things. There are accounting standards that you need to apply. Then, if the examiner is excited, even sometimes in the question 4, which is going to be ratios, you may have to do some adjustments before you calculate the necessary ratios and then do the analysis. So this is the chief examiner's statement, that the content and application of IFRSs constitute 70% of the syllabus. It means that if you're not strong in the accounting standards, you don't have great knowledge in the accounting standards, you are going to fail the examination. No joke. No joke. So if 10 people sit for the exam and 8 fail and only 2 pass, why? It is because the 2 people who passed prepared adequately for the exams. The 2 people who passed understood the content of the syllabus. The 2 people who passed understood, most importantly, the accounting standards, because that represents 70% of the syllabus. No joke. No joke. 2. The second recommendation by the chief examiner is preparing for the financial reporting examination requires working as many questions as possible. Working as many questions as possible. Read the theories and solve practical questions. That's the second thing. You need to practice as many questions as possible. Listen to the language of the chief examiner. As many as possible. That is the examiner's recommendation. Now, preparing for the exams and answering as many questions as possible, meaning that you have to study for long hours. Meaning you have to dedicate some time to study on your own. That is why if you just sit down and 1 week to the exams, 2 weeks to the exam, take some miserable leave from your workplace and think you are going to learn and pass the exams, you are just sabotaging your own future. And these are some of the reasons why people sheepishly say that the ICA is difficult. No matter what you do in the ICA, you are going to fail. It's not that the ICA is difficult. It's because you are lazy. It's because you are refusing to learn lesson. It's because you are refusing to dedicate time to study, to solve as many questions as possible. That is why you will be among the 8 people who fail the exams. And this is it. It's not a prophecy. That is the reality. 8 out of 10 people fail the examination. So how do you avoid that? Make sure you understand the accounting standards. How do you avoid that? Make sure you solve as many questions as possible. Do not be lazy. Sit down and study. That is the thing. So, number 1, 70% of the syllabus is about accounting standards. Study that. Number 2, solve as many questions as possible. Number 3, in the examination room, try to allocate your time evenly. Time allocation is the third issue that the chief examiner talks about in the exam hall. Time allocation. And the examiner gave a clue. The clue here is that based on the marks allocation, note that each mark requires it, so maximum time to be allocated to 20 marks question is 36 minutes. So time allocation in the exam hall is going to be very crucial. So you get to the exam hall 3 hours. And some of you in the 3 hours, you cannot even do anything. You don't even allocate your time well. And I've said this over and over again, and that is what you have heard again from the chief examiner. A 1 mark question means you need 1.8 minutes. As such, if it is a 20 mark question, it means you need 36 minutes to work with. 36 minutes to work with. That is the average. So each question you need 36 minutes. The question is, how do you do that? You will only do that if you understand the accounting standards. You will only do that if you have been able to solve as many questions as possible. Because some of you get to the exam hall and you freak out. You see questions and you start, shaking. Why? Because you've not prepared. You are ill prepared for the exams. And if you are ill prepared, you start having a lot of pressure coming on you and everything evaporates from your brain generally. 4. The chief examiner says, you must also provide answers in direct response to the requirements of the respective questions. Try to avoid deviation. This is something that we have shared on the channel as well over and over again. The verbs that the examiner uses and how you are expected to write out your answer. So if the examiner says, explain the ethical issues in the case or in the scenario that the accountant is faced, how do you write it out? It's very important. If the question says, explain how the above will be treated in the financial statement of the company, you must know how to write that out. If the question says, advise the entity on how the above is supposed to be treated, you must know how to write it out. And the various verbs that the examiner is going to be using, we have discussed it on the channel. In case you've not watched that video, you can check our how-to channel, our how-to playlist, and you'll be able to find that video there. Because some people deviate. Now, you even don't have a lot of time available, and now you are deviating. Next one. It is always advisable to answer the questions that you are comfortable with first. This has been something that I tell students every time. It is always advisable to answer the questions that you are comfortable with first. This will enhance your confidence level and sustain your focus and tenacity throughout the 3 hours. That's it. So you have to always start with questions that you are comfortable with. That's very important because, and that is why you need to really allocate your time well. Because in the exam hall, you're going to have 15 minutes reading time. Then you have your 3 hours to work with. So you have to position yourself in such a way that you start with what you can do best first, so you build yourself up. The reason is that if you start with a question and you're not able to solve the question, like you start freaking out, your heart starts beating faster than it is supposed to beat. When that happens, all the blood is just going to the heart and your brain and nothing is working up there at the end of the day. So you need to answer what you can do best first. That is why I suggest to students always that if you go to the example, there is going to be some written. Question 5, always in the financial reporting, there's going to be some written. Let me take you through this paper. I think so. Yeah, this is it. Question 5. This is December 2022. And you can see the question 5 here. There are some theories here. There's some theory issues here that you can answer in that particular case. So you start with what you can do best first. Now, how do you start with what you can do best first? By ensuring that you understand the scope of the syllabus. So you go to question 5 and answer all the theory questions. The ones you know, answer them as fast as possible. The goal is you make sure that you are answering questions on a fresh page. You make sure that you are answering questions on a fresh page. That is, new questions on fresh page, generally at the end of the day. But you attempt the theories. Every financial reporting exams, we're going to be having theories in the question 5. In the question 5. So if you look at this B aspect, there's a 5-mark question there. What does it say? It says, define liability and describe the circumstance under which provision should be recognized. Define liability and describe the circumstances under which provisions should be recognized. That is in accordance with IAS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities, and contingent assets. So what is liability? What are the circumstances? It means the recognition criteria, and that is what? Okay, the amount should be reliably measured. There should be present obligation, settlement of which will result into transfer of future economic benefit embodying the entity. And liability is a present obligation as a result of past events. Explain this, get 5 marks. You don't need a miracle for that in that particular case. Then there is another 5 marks here under IFRS 11 joint arrangement. It is an investor It says explain the distinction between joint ventures and joint operations. Joint ventures and joint operations. That's a theory question that you can take generally in that particular case. And that's question 5. And even so, still in question 5, there is a standard question here, IAS 33, earnings per share. Then there is an A aspect of the question, which is comment on the accountant's treatment of the aforementioned transaction in the above financial statement. So the accountant has done some treatment and we are supposed to comment on it in that particular case. So that is what you do. So you go to the question 5, look at the theories that you can answer best first. And that helps you to really put yourself up generally at the end of the day. So you know exactly how you are going to be going forward. So once you answer all your theories, what do? You then position yourself to go to maybe question 4, ratios. Calculate the ratios, analyze the ratios. Then you can go to question 2, the IFRSs, go to question 3, which is the single entity financial statement. Then consolidation. Your last but one question in that particular case. This is the recommendation by the chief examiner, not Nhyira Premium. And if you follow up my work, you realize that these are the same things that I have been saying over and over again. So for December 2022, this is the position of the examiner. 20% of candidates passed, 80 failed. When you take 10 students, only 2 passed the exams. 8 of them were in the dustbin. They were in the mud. They were taken by the flood. How do you position yourself so you don't become a victim in July 2023 examination? It's simple. Understand the accounting standards. Solve as many questions as possible. Allocate time properly in the exam hall. Answer questions directly and make sure you start with what you can do best first at the end of the day. On the overall, what the chief examiner is saying is that you need to prepare yourself. You need to prepare adequately for the exams, generally in that particular case. Number 2, you have to understand and appreciate the content of the syllabus. And certainly, number 3, you need to ensure that you are able to apply the accounting standards very well. This is financial reporting. Any questions for me? Any questions? You put it in the chat for me. I see some of you guys joining. Give us a thumbs up on the video. Give us a thumbs up on the video, and if there are any questions, you bring it up and let me look at quickly in that case. So let's see, what do I have? Kemo is with a thumbs up. Tefi Frank, it's also with an emoji for race. Blessing Maya said, hi, Master, more grace. Thank you, Blessing. Senna said, please, are there lectures on partnership accounts? Not that I remember, because I don't think we have posted any video on YouTube on partnership account. I don't think there is any video. We have some. You can check our playlist on financial accounting. We have some videos on financial accounting, but I'm not sure if we have anything on partnership accounts. You can check the channel because we have, hundreds of videos already on the channel. Moketi Allen said, hi. Hello, Moketi. Thanks for joining us on the stream today. Let me know if there are any other questions for me. You put it in the chat for me, and I'll be able to provide you with some answers generally in that case. So let's go to the second part, which is going to be corporate reporting. So let's see corporate reporting quickly. And I just want you to see that it's almost the same thing cut across that the chief examiner has raised concern on. So this is December 2022. Again, on corporate reporting. So here, let's see what the examiner said in corporate reporting. Here, the examiner did not talk about a pass mark, but then he talked about, he made a reference to previous sessions or previous examination dates. And so we'll be able to go back behind the scene and see exactly what some of the issues are that the chief examiner raised concern on. So performance of candidates. The general performance of candidates in this exams date was poor compared to previous dates. Listen carefully. Was poor compared to previous dates. Poor. It means it's smelling. There was a marginal decrease in the pass rate. Marginal decrease in the pass rate. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what has been the performance in the past? Because the examiner is saying that in the December 2022 examination, students or candidates' performance on the average was poor compared to previous dates. So we need to go back to previous dates and find out exactly what the problem was. Then the examiner further explained that there was a marginal decrease in the pass rate. It means the pass rate decreased a little bit. The pass rate decreased a little bit. So let's look at it. The candidates who performed well demonstrated a clear understanding of the subject matter. Some candidates also showed abysmal performance. Very, very smelling. Very, very, very smelling. Abysmal performance. The poor level of preparedness of some candidates reflected in their poor performance. Did you hear that? Poor level of preparedness, which is the same issue that we spoke about in the financial reporting breakdown. Because preparation is the problem. You cannot tell me the ICA exam is difficult. You can't say that. If you say that, you are lazy. If you say that, I don't know what's wrong with your head though, but I don't think so. You are just not ready for the exams. That's all. So, this is 2022. The examiner said the performance was poor compared to previous dates. Okay, so let's look at previous dates. What the performance was. So I'm going to refer you to another chief examiner's report, and this is November 2020, because in the November 2020, the examiner provided us with some knowledge on what exactly transpired. Because remember, in December 2022, the examiner said performance was poor as compared to previous dates. So in previous dates, this is November 2020, how was the performance? Let's see. It says that the performance of candidates was very poor with a pass rate of about 25%. 25%. So 25%, and the examiner was saying in 2022 that there was a marginal decrease. So 25% simply means that, okay, in corporate reporting also, when you put 10 people in a room, can you imagine that 2.5 of them will pass? Put 10 people in a room to write financial corporate reporting paper, 2.5 of them will pass. Okay, so approximately, we cannot have 2.5 human beings, isn't it? So let's say 3 people will pass. Okay, 3 will pass, and the 7 will be in the mud, fail. 3 will pass, 7 will fail on the average. Okay, on the average. This is the chief examiner's statement. Then he says, candidates' poor performance was consistent and was evenly spread across most centers. Then let's look at some of the notable issues that the chief examiner spoke about. The questions that candidates attempted averagely better were question 5 on ratios and financial analysis, question 3C on ethics, and question 4A on business valuation. The rest of the questions, consolidated financial statement and IFRSs, were poorly attempted. Candidates' weakest point was application of IFRSs. It's still here. Application of IFRSs and preparation of the consolidated financial statements. Application of IFRSs. So it goes back to what we said in the financial reporting. It's the same issue here. Fundamental weaknesses observed is lack of appropriate knowledge. Lack of appropriate knowledge. 2, bad strategy use of time. People don't use their time well. Wrong order in which questions were attempted and inability to apply concepts to practical scenarios. These are all issues that we've spoken about indirectly from the financial reporting discussion. Candidates lacked effective time management skills. That is the time allocation issue that we spoke about a moment ago in financial reporting. In that particular case, the time allocation issue that we spoke about is the same thing here. Then some candidates number their questions wrongly. That's one of the dumbest things some people do. Some candidates had very poor handwriting. I always tell my students this. Okay, some candidates answered the same question on several consecutive pages without cross-referencing. Okay, and that is bad. This made tallying their marks very difficult. Most candidates displayed inadequate knowledge of the issues of the syllabus. It all boils down to the 3 things that we spoke about earlier: preparation, lack of appreciation of content, application of the accounting standards. Preparation, lack of appreciation of content, application of accounting standard, and certainly what goes on in the exam hall. That is the time allocation. So if you are preparing and to sit for financial reporting or corporate reporting in the July 2023 examination, this is your fate. This is how it's been. And you can get a chief examiner's report yourself and read it for yourself. This is how it is. So if we put 10 people down and only 2 will pass, 8 will fail, and these are the 8 people who will come and will sheepishly be making dumb statements like ICA exam is difficult. No matter what you do, the ICA, they will fail you. No matter, as if they are special human beings and somebody is uh, trying to prevent them from becoming chartered accountant. You are lazy. You are lazy. You don't put in the work. You don't put in the effort. You don't sacrifice. You don't work hard. That's it. The people who passed the exams worked hard. The people who passed the exams went the extra mile. The people who passed the exam solved as many questions as possible. That means that they sat down to study. You are jumping from one thing to another, going from places to places, and some people are dedicating themselves to study, and you come and sit down and spew out nonsense that the exam is difficult. Sometimes when I hear some of these things from people, I feel like drawing them closer and then smacking them. You know, those days in the village when you do something wrong, they give you one, then your brain will be activated. The ICA exams is not difficult. Financial reporting, corporate reporting is not difficult. If you understand that this is what makes people fail, that is why you need to then position yourself so you can pass the exam. So maybe you've written financial reporting before. Maybe you've written corporate reporting before, and you are listening to this or watching this now. This is the problem. What I want you to do is to sit down. Think about all carefully. Look at all the things that you have been doing that has caused you to be failing the exams, and re-strategize yourself going into July 2023. If you have not been studying, start studying. If you are not solving a lot of questions, start solving a lot of questions. If you have not been allocating time consciously to do something on your own, allocate time and do things on your own. The exam is not difficult, but on the average, a few people will be passing the exams. A lot of people will fail in the July 2023. That's the reality. That's the reality. Because majority of you are just on the fence, sitting down, doing nothing about your studies. Yeah, we know you are busy, you are married, you have children, blah, 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 blah. You are the CEO of the company, the CMO of the company. Nobody cares about all that. The ICA doesn't care about all that. And nobody cares. Because when they are setting questions, they set a standardized question. And you have to be able to pass the exams. The only way you do that is to go the extra mile, is to sacrifice, is to eliminate some distractions and create conscious time to understand the IFRSs, understand the content of the syllabus, and solve as many questions as possible. If you do this consciously, I can guarantee you, you will be among the 2 or 3 people out of 10 that will be passing the July 2023 examination. That's the reality. That is the average. That is the average. And that is what you must understand generally at the end of the day. Okay? That is what you must understand generally at the end of the day. So that is what I want to share with you today in respect of corporate reporting and financial reporting. Like I said, we will be releasing new episodes on the podcast session of the channel, on the YouTube channel, and then we will be going through questions one after the other. So consolidated financial statements. How are you supposed to pick out the easy marks? What are you expected to do? The standards, we'll be taking them one after the other. When a statement is made like this, what are you supposed to do? So all of these examination techniques, we are going to be going through them, and it will be available. We'll be posting them on the podcast session of our YouTube channel. So in case you've not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification icon, and you will be able to get the notification for that, so you can prepare well for your examination. Again, please, 6 weeks is over. We are going to the 7th week. So literally we have 5 weeks to go. 5 weeks to go for the July examination. If you're going to pass the exams, I need you to double down. I need you to work hard. I need you to put in the work, put in the effort. Remove the distractions. Stop giving yourself excuses. Okay? Nobody cares about your life. Nobody cares about the fact that you are working 16 jobs. Nobody cares that you have to take care of your husband, your wife. Nobody cares. If you care about those things, stop the ICA and go away. Because you see, this is why I'm passionate about these things. And over the last decade, in my experience as an educator doing this, you see students and they fail the examination and they become very devastated. Because when results are released, on one hand, some students are excited, they are happy, they've become chartered accountant, they've passed the exams, hooray. Then on the other hand, there are other students who feel like giving up, who feel like this is the end of the road, who feel like probably God is against them. But that is not it. If really you should sit down and look at what made you fail the exams. And 99.9% of the time, what I ask the student is, what do you think went wrong? Almost all the time. Anybody that I have to talk to, I asked, what do you think went wrong? Now, the reason I ask that question is I want them to reflect on themselves and find out what actually went wrong in the last 12 weeks so that you reflect and find out, did I dedicate a lot of time to study? Did I really work hard? Did I really do as much as I was required to do? That is what I want to find out generally. And so going into July 2023, if you are going to pass the exams, on the average, if you take 10 people, only 3 will pass the exams in July 2023. Only 3 out of 10 on the average. That's not from me. That is from the chief examiner's report over the last examination dates. When we extrapolate it, 3 out of 10 people will pass the exams. 30 out of 100 people will pass the exams. It means 70 people out of 100 will be failing the July 2023 exams. It's a done deal. If you don't want to be part of that, my plea to you is this: work hard, dedicate some time, understand the syllabus, be solid on the accounting standards. And if you do this, you will pass the exams and become successful and achieve your goal at the end of the day. So that's it about that. Thanks very much for joining on the stream today. Let me hear in the comment section any questions for me, real quick. Any questions for me? Something that you would want me to talk about really quick. Juliet Shelley said, "Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Always a pleasure, Juliet." And then what we have, Tefe Frank said, "Thanks for the encouragement. Always a pleasure, Frank, and I believe that you are working hard for the exams." Abigail Irama Mensa, Abubakar, Abdul Rahim, and then Hon Dimaru Banabas. Thank you for the thumbs up on Facebook, as well as those of you connecting with us on YouTube with a thumbs up and the sharing of the video. We really appreciate it for the support. So that's it about that. And I'll be catching you on Monday. We're going to be looking at some other papers. We will look at management accounting. We'll look at public sector accounting and finance. We will look at principles of taxation. We'll look at financial management, because I want to bring you behind the curtains so you see what the chief examiner has been saying and how you can position yourself to pass the July 2023 examination. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us, and I'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.